Right, so that's the club time. I'm here with Robbie from Liverpool TV, Chris from the Redmen TV, and Louis from 100% Chelsea. And we're going to be answering your questions. If you want to give us your questions, you can do that every single Monday on the Ball Street Twitter at Ball Street. There is one story though that has dominated the entire season, and it looks like it's finally come to a conclusion. Wenger is signing a 2-year deal. You've obviously got a load of questions coming from you guys to answer, Robbie. Louis at Welch. Louis. Not you, sorry.
I was like, what? Yeah, okay.
Is it right for Wenger to stay on as Arsenal manager after winning a trophy, or should he leave on a high and cement his place as a legend?
Well, it's both. It's both of those, isn't it?
He can't do both though, can he?
You know, there's a lot of fans who were saying on Saturday that he should leave on a high. You know, he's won the FA Cup. But then you can also argue it's very difficult, you know, as the owner of a club, you fly in to then sack a manager after he's just won a trophy, you know. So
They did with Van Gaal last year, didn't they? No?
Yeah, they did with Van Gaal last year, but it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. We in the league this season, you know, if you're going by the league form, he doesn't deserve a new deal.
Personally,
you know?
do you think he should be Arsenal manager next season?
It's a difficult one now because I'm looking at if you'd have asked me this a couple of months
It's
ago.
Robbie the politician. I'm going. This is
Yeah,
Just keep on, just do
Here
what
comes-
Max
no,
does, just keep
but
asking the question.
I'm being a bit of a
Do you want Wenger to stay?
I'm being a bit of a politician, I suppose. But it's a difficult one. If you asked me a couple of months ago, I'd have probably said the time has come for him to go, because you could then went out there and say try to get someone like an Allegri or someone that's going to be better. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, well, all the other managers that I would like to take over for him, they're all kind of secured down now.
Thomas Tuchel's become available at Borussia Dortmund.
Tuchel's become available. I'm not sure if Tuchel's because remember, you're going to get a club now that's not in the Champions League, Europa League. That's going to, I don't know.
Well, you don't
Here's
think
the thing,
he would
though,
go?
Robbie.
Huh?
You don't think he would go to Arsenal? Is that
No,
what you
no. The money that Arsenal would pay definitely go. It's Tuchel. Remember, they finished third in their league. He's fallen out with players.
The reason that happened.
Well,
though,
one of the
is
reasons they say with Tuchel, he fell out with not just the
Dortmund's-
board, he fell out with the players as well.
Dortmund gave him. They said you can have Mkhitaryan, you can keep all your key players, and all these key players that were at Dortmund last season started to go. So he lost Matt Hummels and he lost Mkhitaryan. Just two of those. For
Yeah,
example.
he did lose.
That's the reason that he fell out with the guys. At
But
Dortmund.
you know, when you manage Arsenal, you lose players a lot of times as well.
It
So
shouldn't be
and you know, and Wenger's managed to negotiate and normally get them. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, Tuchel is a good manager. I personally wanted somebody better than Tuchel. For me, I wanted someone like an Allegri, somebody who would bring that defensive, you know,
Question for you, Rob.
organisation to the team.
That I agree with your point. I actually think that, there's not many managers out there now, but why not 1 year? Why 2? I mean, the landscape can change so much in 1 year. Do you think if next season, if a massive manager becomes available, like someone like Allegri, will Arsenal sack him?
How are you
'Cause I
going to
don't
buy
think he
players
will.
if you're on a 1-year deal?
Let me tell you something, right? This is what if I was in charge and I was going to give him a 2-year deal. My 2-year deal would be structured like this, right? You got a rolling deal. So if next year you challenge for the league and you put in a proper challenge where at the end, even if you missed out at the end of the season, I had to work it out mathematically and stuff, then you can get the following year. But if it's like, you're just scraping into the top 4, or we didn't challenge, the season, March comes and you're out of challenging for the league.
You're on a results-based extension.
Yeah, you don't get that 1-year extension to that. We then bring in someone else.
What happens with the fans going into next season? I mean, you're there, boots on the ground, every single week, every single game.
I worry that, if we... The problem with keeping Arsene Wenger on is that, yes, I think at the start of the season, by the summer, everyone's kind of got used to it and that people will start to get behind him again. But I worry that if there's a bad patch, we say we get 2-3 losers on the bounce, whereas a new manager would, people would have been like, okay, let's see
Well, that's
what
what
he
happened
does.
this year, isn't it?
With Wenger, he's not going to get much grace. It's going to be like, oh, here we go again. And I worry about that.
But knowing that there's 2 years on that deal, will that affect the fan base at all?
I worry. Yeah, I worry.
Because, you know, like you were saying, you're going, oh, here's the politician's answer. But from your point of view, you know, you're all football fans. You're not going anywhere. You're always going to be an Arsenal fan. You have to keep moving forward. And so if he is giving that 2-year deal, you've got to almost go, right, let's kind of start again. You can't. You have to give him some sort of grace.
This is exactly why, right? And I've argued with a lot of people over this, right? This is exactly why this should have been announced ages ago. If they knew they were going to give him a 2-year deal, they should, and I think they kind of knew a few months ago that was the chance of that. They should have announced it then. This thing of not saying and that, what it allowed, there's like a vacuum there where fans could just say, right, you know what, we want him out. We're going to do things to put so much pressure on him that he'll go. Now, human nature, if someone announces this and he says, right, you're going to be here for the next 2 years, you're going to be upset. But after a while, you're going to have to say,
you're not marching.
Yeah?
You're not marching, are
You're not marching. You resign yourself to the fact that you'll have fans that say, well, you know what, I ain't going to go no more. Or you'll have fans that will say, you know, I'm just going to have to just get on with it after a while. But when you leave that was the big... Wenger even himself eventually...
He knew.
Eventually admitted that it caused a problem because it's uncertainty. Now, you know, what could get fans on side is if they announce it and they say, right, Wenger signed and also as Alexis Sanchez has signed a new deal and all that. If they tie all that in, that will sound good.
But surely, Robbie, if you're saying results-based, you've got... If you look, like you said, look at the whole season, he doesn't warrant it. It almost feels like because you won the FA Cup, he's getting that deal. Because
I think regardless of the FA Cup, they were going to give it to him.
No, but I understand it. But in Europe, you didn't perform. Again, that's God knows how many years on the bounce. It's all well and good qualifying
No,
for
that's what I
Champions
just...
League,
Hold on, Louis. That's what I said. He does not warrant a new... If your contract comes to an end, right, and you're writing a new contract for somebody, you should be looking at it and saying, well, how's he got on? If you look at how he's got on, he doesn't warrant a new deal. Like we know. I think every fan knows
anyway,
that.
is he all right? Ty.
Under Ty, he warrants a new deal all day long. He'll be happy. He'll have the champagne out. You know what I mean?
It was linking into another. Surely, like there must be something going wrong at Arsenal then. Like surely, because you're like Kroenke, like
just won the FA Cup.
Yeah, I know, but no, that's all well and good winning the FA Cup. But Robbie said,
great. It's brilliant.
It's a bad season. It papers over the cracks. And you know it just as much as I do. You've had a shocking season. Winning the FA Cup is fantastic and it's a great and all. But I'm not going to say it's not a bad achievement because I'd love to win the FA Cup.
Winning the FA Cup was good.
I really worry for Arsenal this season because of the fans and because of everything.
You have to worry. You have to worry that if he doesn't get off. I think there's two very important things. Right, is that he has to have a good transfer window.
Well, that's my next question.
He has to.
So moving on a little bit, so Lafage, he says, Robbie, and I'd like to ask about everyone. So you just laughed there.
Yeah, I'm a child.
Robbie, despite what Wenger does, because it sounds like he's staying, what is the next for the team? Players in and out and tactics.
He has to have a good transfer window. He has to go out there. They need...
What is a good transfer window? What do you need?
A good transfer window is holding on to Ozil and Sanchez and making a big one or two big marquee signings. For me, Arsenal right now, Aubameyang is leaving Borussia Dortmund. Right, I know we haven't got Champions League football, but we got money. Arsenal should be going out. I heard the price for him is 80 million euros. Arsenal can pay that. They should be going out there and saying, Aubameyang, we'll give you the 80 million. This is what we're going to do. We're keeping Sanchez and all that. You'll be in the Europa League for 1 year, then you'll be back in the big time. We're going to challenge for the league. Come join us. We'll pay you big wages. That's the sort of signing that if Arsenal fans saw that, along with Sanchez and that, they start to think, well, hold on a minute. Saw in the FA Cup what we can do, strengthen the defence up a bit. Actually, we could bounce back, but he has to have a big transfer window in which he brings in one or two top quality players, because our squad, in Champions League, when I looked at Bayern Munich's team when we played them and I looked at their bench, I was like, how did I even expect us to beat them anyway? Kingsley Coman on the bench, Douglas Costa, people like that who walk into our team.
Question for you, Rob. Why would Aubameyang want to go to Arsenal at the moment? Looking at, because let's not, Wenger lied and said he didn't feel the pressure and it wasn't getting to him and stuff. Every footballer around Europe will know what's been going on at Arsenal this season. Why would you want to get yourself involved in
That's why you persuade that player. You turn around and say, right, we had a terrible season. Because it can happen. You can have a bad season. So he said, we had a terrible season last season, right? But you know what? We're going big now. We're going to get back in the big time. We're keeping our biggest players. And you're going to be an integral part of us getting back to where we are. You're going to be at a club that is a major club. Right, this is the first time we've never been in the Champions League, but we're going to get back. We're serious now. Bit like how Man United persuaded Pogba and Mkhitaryan to come to them when they were in the Europa League.
No, that's different because I don't see everything else that goes on around the stadium. You know, Man United fans were behind Mourinho. Arsenal fans haven't been behind Wenger. They're probably not going to be behind him next season. Why would you put yourself through that?
One of the big reasons is this: dollars. Yeah. So if the money's right, and as I said, if you see that there's going to be big players there, I mean, you're going to be playing with proper players, and you've got a chance of challenging, you might be tempted to take on that.
Would you spend big again? Would you spend big again, considering, like you're saying, this is the first time you really spent big, and you did sign in the key areas. You signed a central midfielder, you signed a centre back, which is what you needed. Still didn't quite make it. Considering that you're going into the Europa League,
we didn't get everything we needed.
Well,
we needed a striker, right? Yeah. So going out and getting somebody of that quality, a world-class striker, adding to what we've got, not making those guys leave, you know, you can listen.
What makes Arsenal win those games that they lost this season? What makes Arsenal win those games that they lost this season? What makes Arsenal
win those games that they lost last season is a bit more quality and confidence in the confidence to return in the team, right? So get that back, and I mean, because as we saw in the cup final, as we saw with certain teams we beat last year, there is good players there, but the confidence was on the floor.
Okay, I'm quite intrigued to see what Chelsea fan and Liverpool fan think about your team tactically, players in and out, and what you need to do to strengthen.
I would like us to move more in the direction of Tottenham than anyone else. Personally, next season, we've experimented a couple of times with 3 at the back. It's not really worked out for us. But you know, the tactical flexibility that Tottenham have to be able to switch between 4 at the back and 3 at the back, I think is outstanding. I'd kind of like to see that more at the top end of the pitch. I'd like us to change between 1 striker and 2 striker. I believe that the way to beat 3 at the back is to play 2 strikers up top. Mm-hmm. You know, we played West Ham back end of the season, admittedly 3 really slow defenders, starting with Ginge and all that type of stuff, and Fonte. But when you put 2 men up against 3 and you start to work space and they start to drag people out into the wing areas, that's when I see the 3 at the back being defeated. It's what used to happen. It's what happened in the 90s. 2 strikers against 3 at the back, 1 out. You know, so for me, I want to see Liverpool change between 2 at the top and maybe a 4-2-3-1, utilising Firmino in that 10, using Mane's pace on the right, using Coutinho on the left, and getting someone who can score goals. Because I think, you know, the reason we lost to teams low down the league this season is we don't have someone that's as ruthless as Harry Kane or as ruthless as Diego Costa. You know, Roberto Firmino, brilliant false 9. But ultimately, our 2 wingers were our 2 top scorers. And I think you need someone to just dominate teams lower down the league. And that's what Liverpool need for me. We need a centre-back. I'm hoping for Van Dijk. We need maybe 1 more addition at centre-mid. A forward who can back the other players up. And someone at the top end of the pitch. We need a lot to challenge for the title. And that's where Liverpool, I believe, should be and want to be. Whether Liverpool, under FSG, our owners, are going to go and spend as big as everybody else, that's the worry for a Liverpool fan. You know, we keep wanting to buy young and develop players and sell them on for big money. Has anybody really done that to win the Premier League? I don't think so. Yeah. I'd love us to be the first because I'm bought into that philosophy. But I think it'll be a massive struggle because everybody else is going to improve. All the top managers are going to get better off the back of it. Luckily for us, Klopp's maybe had a little bit longer than the others to do that. I personally think, you know, as I say, a centre forward's got to be on everybody's lips.
And for Chelsea, it's a weird one because you just don't want to go stale, do you? You want to keep pushing forward.
I think, despite what you said about Diego Costa, he's a great striker. He did score pivotal goals at pivotal moments, but there is a massive gap where he just wasn't scoring goals. For me, I'd like to have a striker for me who scores regularly. So I know week in, week out, I'm going to be getting a goal out of him, or he's going to be close to doing it.
That sounds outrageous.
This is like, because I watched Diego Costa, and he walks that line of he either is going to go out and fight someone, or he will go and score a goal. between January and May, he scored a few goals, and they were pivotal. I'm not saying he's a bad striker, but
Chelsea got more points off Costa goals than any other team.
I know, but it's the way. It's just my personal opinion.
So you don't think he's good enough?
No, I think he's a good striker, but for me, I don't see a guarantee in him scoring goals every week. Whereas Harry Kane, I see, you will get a goal at Harry Kane every week, or Alexis Sanchez, you'll guaranteed goals, or
why don't you give some of the young players a chance at your team?
Which is what I was going to go on to. So people are saying, we need to sign a centre back. We've got Christensen out on loan. Had a fantastic couple of seasons at Mönchengladbach. Bring him back in. We've also already got Nathan Ake, Zuma. So we're sorted there. Okay. For me, Lewis Baker, you've got potentially in central midfield. But I think that's where, for us to really challenge in Champions League, we need to. I'm not saying we're going to go out and win it, but for us to get past what I feel could be around 16 quarterfinals, we need a world-class central midfielder. Now, people are saying potentially Marco Verratti, but for me, if you partner
another world-class centre midfielder,
if you,
we've got arguably no world-class players in our side. By the way,
you've had your say. Let me finish. We've got
youngsters. They've got 70 people out on loan, and he wants more youngsters.
Verratti. People are talking about Verratti and Kante, but that wouldn't work because Verratti's too small, in my opinion. I'd like a Nainggolan, or I'd like Claudio Marchisio from Juventus.
What about Bakayoko?
I don't think he's a finished product. I'd want.
What about Chalobah?
Chalobah and Loftus-Cheek have the potential, but again,
youngsters
they're not
get a chance at Chelsea.
They're not. Yeah, because Robbie, we're challenging for trophies.
Yeah, the FA Youth Cup.
We're challenging for trophies.
We
want to go for the biggest trophies.
What's the point in having all these youngsters? They never get a chance to play.
Don't think that I don't want to see people come through. Don't think that I don't want to see people come through, because I do.
No,
but the thing is, to challenge for the top trophies,
you've got 70 players.
Let me finish. You had your say. Let me finish. You need to have the top caliber of players, and I just feel Matic, for example, isn't that top quality player. I want someone who could track back, but is also excellent going forward. So Nainggolan offers a lot going forward, but if you need someone to sit there and just protect with Kante, he's more than capable of doing that. But I think we just need that one player and maybe a couple of wing backs. I'm going to hit you in a minute.
Just wait. Right, two more questions. Right, Robbie. This is from Carl Parr, at Mr. Carl Parr. Who has had the better season, Man United or Liverpool?
Man United. Because of the trophies that they've won. I mean, Liverpool have been the better team.
No side agenda or side argument we need to win.
Agenda with Man United? Come on,
man. Does that help your argument with the Spurs thing a bit?
No, listen, they've won trophies. So, Liverpool have been a better team. Liverpool have been a much better team than Manchester United this season in the league. But at the end of the day, at the end of the season, you're going to look at the trophy list.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they won the Europa League and they won the League Cup. You've got to say they're a bit lucky because that Europa League now carries a Champions League place, so they're back in the Champions League. But they won trophies, haven't they? So,
Chris?
Look, I think Manchester United have had a more successful season than Liverpool. I think that's pretty obvious. I think Robbie's exactly right. They won two major trophies this season. Whatever you think of those competitions, I'd have loved to win the Europa League the year before. Went there. I was as gutted as anybody when we lost that game. I think we had a much harder run to that final. And
that's true. They have had it. They did have an easy run to that.
Much tougher teams. We had Manchester United for a start. First time we ever played them in Europe. We had Dortmund. We had Villarreal. We had Sevilla. They've had under 11 sides for a large part of it, to be honest. I mean, pretty poor. But
actually, they played Fenerbahce final and they lost. They lost to both of those teams as well.
You can't.
Ajax were they were awful.
It was an under-23 side that they put out, wasn't it, in the end? But Manchester United got the job done. That's what it comes down to.
They won the trophy, man.
I still think we're a better squad than them. I still think we're much closer to the top of the table than they are. I think they'll struggle under Mourinho because I think he has had his day in the Premier League. I think he is just not evolving tactically. I think he's been found out by every other manager in the league. I think the other managers will all improve. I think Manchester United might not. But you know what? Keep your successful season.
Right, and final one. Where is it? So from Jenny Heinonen, I think, at Hippie200. Do you reckon Huddersfield has any chance of surviving next season, and what changes do they need to make in order to do so? So I'll get the plug in now. We did a playoff match day experience with Matt, who is the co-founder, owner of Ball Street. He's a lifelong Huddersfield fan. There was a penalty shootout in this game, and his face at a certain time is pretty epic. So you should go and watch that video.
Is that the same Matt who used to say, "Oh, I don't care for the Premier League.
Is the
The
exact
real
same
football's down in the lower leagues."
And he's still wondering, does he actually want to even be in the Premier League?
Yeah.
So do you reckon
I saw his reaction in that video. It looked like someone who was really disappointed back in the Premier League, weren't it?
So do you think they've got any chance of
Right,
surviving
Matt.
next season? Their transfer record is like $1 million. It's like 1 point something. That's their transfer record.
Yeah, they spent, is it 12 million quid or something their squad was brought together for.
Wow.
I mean, it's not a lot of money. They have done it on a literal shoestring budget for a
Smart,
Premier League
right?
side anyway. You know, they've had Danny Ward from us, they've had guys from Manchester City in the centre of the park and stuff.
Izzy Brown from Chelsea.
They've been very, very smart, and you know, from my end, you know, as a Liverpool fan, I'd kind of want to continue that. I'd love it if more Liverpool players could go there, because we've had too many times over the years where you loan players out and they don't play in the Premier League. David Wagner's Klopp's best mate. Klopp was Wagner's best man. We could develop an understanding there. You know, there could be youth players of Liverpool going that way. Look, you never know what's going to happen with these teams that come up. They have a good start and they could get themselves safe. You know, someone has a bad start and they're down there. I'd love it if Huddersfield stayed up. You know, we've got links to them going back to Shankly was their manager before he was at Liverpool and stuff. So they're a side that I have an affinity with. If not, we've never been in, I don't remember us being in the same league and stuff. I'd love it if they stayed up. It's a great story, it's a great narrative. It's what makes the Premier League and English football
It's good
so
to have
good.
a Yorkshire team. A team from Yorkshire, I mean.
It's alright as well.
Yeah.
That you don't hate. Leeds United.
I think it's a bit cheeky when you're going through the leagues with players that you don't own to a point, but it's a smart way of doing it, and it's a way that a lot of clubs have done it over the years. So those players that you listed, their best players are Izzy Brown, Aaron Moy, Casey Palmer, guys they got on loan. I think the only way they were going to ever keep these players was if they actually got promoted, because those players have had great seasons, and so you go up to the next tier where you go to a probably lower in the table Premier League side. So I think they have got a decent chance at keeping them. If they don't, then I think they're going to struggle, but I think they will.
It's a case of, is it, like you're saying, it's all well and good and it is cheeky to use loan players, but it's not sustainable, which is
So
why...
the man has got 70 players out on loan.
Hey, I'm not bashing them. It's a case of, it's not sustainable, which is, I want them to stay up. Because I don't have an affinity with Huddersfield, but like Robbie said, it's a team in Yorkshire, and it's
I think the point is going up. Yeah, they could definitely stay up, and that is the point.
Burnley didn't spend no money, did they?
But that's why it's worth doing. Although it isn't sustainable, you'd rather figure out how to make it sustainable once you've got
the money,
a load of money.
Yeah,
and you've had 3 years where you've had to rely on those youth.
They had
players.
170 million quid from winning that playoff final, so surely they'll invest a lot of that into players. But the problem is, you want to keep that core.
The thing is, though, they could stay up because you look at Burnley, but I must admit, I fear for them. Unless they buy some sort of Premier League ready players. You know, we saw this year 2 teams that came up went straight back down. You know, it's not easy now
to minus goal difference. First team to go up with the minus goal difference.
To stay in the Premier League now, you know, it's really difficult. All the teams have improved. You know, teams like Stoke and all that spending big money now on players. You know what I mean? It's not easy to stay in the division. I hope they do. I like the story. I like their manager. I like the fact that they've come up playing a style of football that's not just.
It's almost Premier League ready as well.
You know, so they've got a nice ground. You know, I'm looking forward to going up there, but it's going to be tough for Huddersfield. I think. You know,
it's a good little ground. Have you been there?
I've been there once, yeah.
Yeah,
it was
we went
a nice
there for
ground.
pre-season,
yeah,
it's a decent little ground.
Yeah, it should be great, but it's a staying in the Premier League. As
But
QPR found out over the years.
Very true. But you know, Huddersfield fans, that's ages away. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, enjoy yourself, man.
Bask in the glory of winning the playoffs, and check out that video and like it and subscribe and all that rubbish as well. That's Arsenal Club. We've still got Team of the Year, which is coming out this week. It's the last one. It's the strikers. Diego Costa, Harry Kane, Sanchez battling out, Lukaku in there as well.
Sanchez.
You do not want to miss that one as we put together our team of the season. Let us know what you think about Huddersfield. What about Arsenal, about Wenger's new contract? Let us know what you think in the comments below and we'll have a chat. And subscribe to Ball Street.